The pictures on the wall started moving. Doors were like opening and closing in the dream.
It went from like a noise to like a feeling. Like as it was getting closer, like the house was shaking.
The lights went out as I was sitting there reading. Immediately was like, hold on. I think it really is just how we're raised to like react to these sorts of things.
Even with all the work I've done now, I think I still would be pretty scared about that balloon.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Seek and Surrender. I am Rosalyn and I am joined by Kay, and we are here, if you can't tell, in a little bit of change of season, a little bit of spooky time. And so we wanted to embrace the season and kind of make this episode fun and kind of interesting. So, but first, a little bit of check-ins. How you doing, Kay?
I'm great. Yeah. Fall is actually one of my favorite seasons, so I'm glad it's here.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I used to think, summer and everything, but I feel like that was more when I was in school because it was like, oh, we're out for summer.
Yeah.
No, when adulthood, there's no reason to be in the heat for months and months. And yeah, there's no reason for it. Yeah, I have been doing, well, to begin, this will be, an allude to what our topic is today. Speaking of scary, spooky season, I woke up this morning and somewhere between getting out of bed and the 5 minutes it took me to get to the shower, I pulled a giant muscle in my back, and I was like, oh, that's the scary part of getting older, that I'm now like can't even function in my body to get to the shower without hurting myself. Anyone over 30 probably has had similar experiences.
It gets spooky.
It gets very spooky up in here. So today it kind of leads from our topic from last month, which was like energetic boundaries and kind of your comfort level in the kind of spiritual practices and energy healing and everything. Today, we wanted to share kind of some spooky stories. I don't know if anyone, and this might be people kind of closer to our age range, remembers the books that were like, I can see it in I should have looked it up. I see it in my mind, but it's like a white book, and I think it was called like
Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like what you pulled out at a sleepover to just read and spook each other out. But we thought with Halloween around the corner and kind of this neat little season around us that we would do some kind of supernatural stories in this realm and how we felt around them. And we gave some of our other Awakening Airwaves folks an opportunity to contribute. And so we'll see a couple of stories from them and get their feedback on it, and then we'll kind of share our thoughts too. But just kind of jumping into a fun topic and how we can look at it before the work that we've gotten into, and then now like being in this realm and knowing kind of deeper things around energy. So anything to add, Kay, around this topic?
Definitely. It's kind of like being around a campfire, right? And we're sharing our stories. But like you said, like also the perspective and the transformation of those stories and how we see them now, like maybe it was an opportunity for kind of growth or expansion, and also maybe even a gift, so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we are going to start with a couple of our stories.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move into some of our wonderful Awakening Airwaves pals and their stories. So I'll jump into one of mine first, and we'll kind of jump back and forth. This was actually recent. This was in the last year or so. Let's see, about a year and a half ago, I guess now, maybe almost 2 years ago, moved into a new house. And I don't know about you, but whenever I like move into a new place, I'm like, I do a vibe check, right? Like an energy check. I'm like, this place has got to feel good. And then I'll be like, okay, living here. And this house really did feel good. Like everything felt really good about this house. There were only, I think, a couple owners before us, and short term, like it was just a couple years for each of the previous owners. So, passes the probably nobody died in this house, and I don't need to like sage everything, horribly.
Yeah.
And so I think it was maybe like 4 to 6 months after moving in, I started having some really interesting dreams. And in a couple of my dreams, there was one night where I dreamt that I was like waking up in the new house and like laying in my bed, and it looked like the bedroom that I have. So I was like actually like point of view of where I would be. And woke up in that dream and started feeling like, spooky energy, dark energy, pictures on the walls started moving, and like just things did not feel right. And within that dream, I kind of felt myself thinking, well, I've been doing, energy work. I've been learning Reiki. Like I know what to do about clearing my energy, and talk about the topic of our last one, setting my boundaries and like all of that, clearing my space. So I kind of talked my dream self off of a ledge, and I woke up, but I was in like another level of the dream. So I was like waking up within a second level of the dream. So dreaming about myself dreaming, and same thing. I was in the same bedroom, and dark energy started to feel like it was coming around me. The pictures on the walls started moving. Doors were like opening and closing in the dream. But again, same thing. I was like, you know what? Okay, like I know what to do. I actually just had this dream in this dream. And it's so weird when you're very conscious of like that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. And I feel like there should be a counter of how many times I just said dream. But yeah, and so I was like, I know what to do. I know how to clear my space. Like, okay, like I've got this. And then I woke up in real life and was like, man, that was really weird, like really weird. Because like an important thing to note within the dreams too, like other than the pictures moving and everything, the lights were turning on and off, and like the doors were moving and everything like that. So I went about my day, and later that night, I was reading downstairs in my living room, and it was late, so it was dark outside, and I have like recessed lights in my living room, and the lights went out as I was sitting there reading, and I was like, immediately was like, hold on, like, wait, I just dreamed about this. This isn't funny. So I did a quick glance over to the outlet, like the light switches on the wall. And we have some that are like Bluetooth. And so they have like, it's not like a traditional switch where it like moves up and down. It's just like a push. And it still looked like it should, because there's a little light on it that like the light should be on, but they were off. And I looked over and I realized that my brain put it together, and then they flip back on. And I was like totally spooked because of the dream. And I was like, this is out of my realm of expertise. And I had always set this rule too, talking about boundaries. Working with my guides and everything, I've been very like strict of like, I don't want to see you in the physical. Like you can be in my meditation, you can come to me through that visualization, we can communicate through dreams, whatever, but I don't do physical manifestations of like guides and, right, ancestors and all that stuff. That's a very strong boundary of mine. So I was very surprised by this happening. So I was totally spooked out. And I think I actually texted Yolanda and I was like, this just happened. What do I do? So I sat there and I kind of meditated and was just, clearing my space and setting my boundaries and everything. And calming myself down. But my initial reaction, yeah, I was nervous and I kind of doubted myself because I was like, wait a second, like I know I set really strong boundaries. And then I kind of started to get to thinking about it and I was like, but this is a new space. Like this is a new house. This is a new environment that I am still like getting used to myself. And so over the next day or two, I did a lot of meditations where I was like, okay, I know I'm in a new space. I have to respect like the energies that have been here before me. And I kind of just did these things where I was like, okay, whoever was here before isn't here anymore. This is my energy, my space. But I also really wanted to respect too, like, I work a lot with nature and the land and the elements. And so I was like, okay, whatever energies that are connected to this land that my house is on, like, I want to be respectful of what that holds and I want to work with that energy. And what was really neat is what came to me were these kind of new guides that were very, I always describe them as like very sprightly, like these little orbs of light, playful, like, and like I just got this feeling and this communication from them of, you know, we're here to, this is like our land, like we're here to take care of this land. And so the lights were kind of this situation where they were making their presence known and just not like standing their ground, but saying like there's other energy here that you need to know about. And so on the spiritual side of things, I kind of started to feel like I got a grasp of what was going on and it really helped me calm down. And there's been some cool things that have happened after that, which can be one of my other stories after you share one. But I also went very practical too and was like, I'm calling an electrician and I'm like making sure that like the inspector didn't miss something in like my electrical and my house isn't going to burn down and, you know, whatever. But yeah, it was pretty spooky. And it's like it was a very visceral experience that I don't often have. So I was very much having to use all my tools to come back from it.
Yeah, what a gift though, like in the end, you know, like
Yeah.
it sounds like you gained a lot from it afterwards and like having those new guides and that new comfort and just initiating all those meditations to kind of get comfortable in the space.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
for
really
sure.
cool.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really scary. I'd be freaked out for sure. So my story is a little more lighthearted, but scary nonetheless during the experience. And I call it the purple balloon.
Oh, goodness.
So it was a holiday, and my family and I were gathered at my mom's house. And I went out to take out the trash, turned the corner, took out the trash. The sun was down, and street lights were buzzing. It wasn't windy or anything. And I looked, and in the middle of the street, like perfectly there, was this really big purple balloon. And it was about 5 feet tall with a string. And it was just kind of bobbing there and hovering. And it was so like eerie because it was so out of place, you know, just like this random balloon, you know, just kind of floating there.
Yeah.
And it was just, usually a balloon will like go up, you know, but it was just there. And I'm like, what the heck? So I run to the house and I'm telling everybody, like, you got to come see this balloon. It's creepy. So everybody comes out and we turn the corner, but the balloon's not in the middle of the street anymore. It's right in the center of the driveway.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
that gave me chills.
Yeah. I'm like the first one to run back in the house. I'm like, oh no, like, what is this? And everybody's running behind me, like trying to get in, but half of them are like hysterical, like laughing, and then half are actually scared. Yeah. But it turns out they all thought that I was pulling a prank and that I put the balloon there, but I did not touch that thing. And man, but I think for me, you know, looking at that now, it's kind of like, I mean, it could have been a coincidence, the wind or something, but it wasn't a windy day. But also it's like something, usually we see mysterious things or things that we don't understand as scary or threatening. But I think mystery is where kind of transformation starts and like where things could be unlocked in the unknown. And I feel like it was more like playful, like it was just, it's just energy, and maybe being playful and making its presence known. And when you think about it, it wasn't like such a sinister way. It's like a balloon, so
Yeah.
and it's purple. It's not like red or black.
Yeah.
But that was really, I always think about that balloon. Like when you think it doesn't seem threatening, but like, I don't know, just the amount of out of place that it was really
Yeah.
creepy,
That was exactly what I was going to say. Is like whenever anything's out of place, it catches your attention and you're
Right.
like, oh my God, like, why is it? But yeah, a balloon that you're like, you're not acting like a normal balloon.
Right.
But you're totally right. Like it could be playful energy. It could be a coincidence, a weird amount of helium and humidity in the air. Like who knows? But yeah, that would be the fact that it moved. I'd be running in the house as well. Like, no, I don't need to figure this one out.
Yeah. Right.
That's so funny. Yeah. So what was the response from like your family?
They're
like,
convinced till today that I moved, like somehow bought this balloon, put it outside. I don't know where I would have got this balloon and had the exact amount of helium to have it bob like that. So,
oh my gosh, how old were you?
This was recent. This was like maybe 3 years ago. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you were just a kid, they couldn't think that you did that. No, but that makes sense. Older.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Who knows? But I think you're right. It's like the mysterious, the out of place. I think there's a tendency. Understand. Yeah. It's like culture tells us to like, what was coming to mind was like put our hackles up, like whenever we experience something like that. But really,
or run.
Yeah, run, like the fight or flight. Like, I'm sure there's other cultures in the world that when they see something mysterious and different and like out of place, kind of like that, their responses are more like, oh, wait, this might be communication, and be more open to it.
Yeah.
I think it really is just how we're raised to like react to these sorts of things.
100%.
But there can definitely be positive twists on all of it for sure.
Yeah. I think even with all the work I've done now, I think I still be pretty scared about that balloon.
Yeah. How would we react now?
It's
be like,
tough.
Same. I think I'm going to still walk away from the balloon, but I will go think about it in a different way. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like a few other stories, but I think the one that I'll go to is one from when I was younger.
Okay.
Just to throw in a different thing. So when I was younger, in my like childhood bedroom, I had like a twin bed, and it was right up against like the back wall of my room that had like a window, so I could like look outside, and I liked being by the window, but there was like a gap. There was a pretty good size gap in between the bed and the wall. And I had like a little angel like ceramic figurine, like those little porcelain ceramic figurines that we all got when we were kids. It was sitting on the windowsill there, which was like about eye level when you're laying in bed. And I remember it was at night, I was sleeping, and I had a dream that I was like falling. And then as I woke up, I was like falling into that crack between the bed and the wall. But something was like catching me. And then I thought, oh, I'm dreaming, I'm being caught. But I, in the process of falling, started waking up. And like to this day, I think something was physically catching me, and pushed me back like onto the bed. And I remember as a kid, I mean, I must have been like 6 or 7 years old, and just being so like terrified, especially because, you're like, as a kid, it's always like, what's under the bed? Oh my God. Like, you're always like scared of what's under the bed. But as I was laying there after it happened, I remember looking to the little like angel figurine. And in my head, I was like, oh, maybe like I really do have like an angel watching over me. Cause I grew up in like a Christian Catholic household. So that was talked about, you have your guardian angels and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, like maybe maybe that's what it was. And I was still pretty spooked because I think as a kid I was pretty tapped into, like, I think as we all are as kids, like feeling energies around you. Um, and especially in that house that I was in at that time, there there felt like there were a lot of energies. So, but that kind of put a little bit of like a positive take on it in my little kid mind. But what was interesting was I kind of got this like energetic, like fingerprint of what that being, I guess, was or felt like. Um, and so later on in life, I remember, I think I must have been in high school. I went on like a church retreat and we talked about like guardian angels, and we did like, I guess what would have been like a meditation to kind of like, you know, think about your guardian angel and all this stuff. And in that moment, it was like the two kind of like ideas connected. And I was like, oh, like I think this really was like a guardian angel to me. And then as I got older and started into this spiritual realm of work and um, working with guides and doing deeper meditations and doing energy healing and all of that, um, I remember there was like a guided meditation I did to like work with your messenger guide. And it was very much the same fingerprint of energy. And she gave me a name, and she was very like angelic looking in the meditation when I was like kind of seeing her visually in my mind. And she told me, she said like, I've been many things for you throughout your whole life. And it was just like such a profound and like deep experience of, oh, I really do have like energies in the unseen that are supporting me and like guiding me through life. And I think like maybe it's easier to kind of think of when people talk about feeling like they see like past loved ones. It felt kind of like that, like, oh, okay, something is in that realm and is watching out for me and is protecting me and just guiding me down my path when I need help. And so, yeah, what started off as like very scary as a kid, kind of, you know, over years, the puzzle pieces kind of started to come together. And it was just this really neat way of kind of getting a deeper understanding of how these unseen energies have a part to play in our lives. So that was a really neat experience and has been really positive now that I kind of have a better idea of who it is.
Yeah, I think that's so cool how we can remember energetically or in our spirit versus like in the mind. It's such a unique experience, you know, and it's so undeniable, that feeling of remembering. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Not everything that you encounter is spooky and bad. It actually can be really beautiful.
Yeah, that was very beautiful. So this next one, it was also not that long ago. But I was sleeping and it was like maybe like 5 a.m. and I was in between that awake and asleep kind of mode. It didn't feel like I was sleeping though. I just felt like I was aware and laying there. And I heard this noise in the distance and it sounded like maybe a plane or something, which is normal. But then it got louder and it kind of started like it was descending. And I was like, that's interesting. Maybe it has to do like an emergency landing or something. And then it went from like a noise to like a feeling, like it was like rumbling. And as it was getting closer, like the house was shaking, my bed was shaking. And it was like this really loud hum. And now it didn't sound like an airplane. I don't know what it was like. I don't know if an asteroid was coming or something. It was just like so loud. And like the force around it, you could like feel it coming closer. And I just knew that thing was like coming right through my window, whatever it was.
My gosh.
And it just kept building and building. And it was like pretty overwhelming how loud it was. And when I think about like dreams I've had, I've never experienced sound I don't know if that sounds weird, but like I don't ever remember like hearing anything in my dreams, but this was like very loud. And then all of a sudden it just stopped, and there was no like fade out or like a calming down. It just was complete silence. And that silence was scarier than the actual sound and it shaking the house. And that silence is what like woke me up. I like jolted up. And it was so quiet. And I was just like there, present. But now when I think about that experience, it's like the dead silence is what was the most startling. But it's like, it also caused me to be so present, you know, and like, it's like, I think there's more in the silence than in the noise. So it was kind of a gift, a metaphoric gift too.
Yeah. So do you have any idea what it was? Do you think it was like dream, or do you think it was real life?
I don't think it was real life at all, because no one else, like I feel like everybody would have been talking about like the neighborhood and neighbors but I think it was, I don't know, maybe like a spaceship or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, were you abducted? Do you know how long you were asleep? Yeah, those would be my questions. Did you meet the green people?
I did not meet the green people.
Did they tell you the secrets of the universe?
But I feel like if it were anything, maybe that. But I also think if it was that, they'd be way more quiet and discreet. But
yeah, very true.
I think things happen to us for a reason, though, you know, so.
Definitely. Yeah.
Especially
whether physical or dreamlike, for sure. Everything kind of has its lesson that we needed at the time.
Yeah.
To kind of bring your attention to something.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But also terrifying. I would be terrified for sure. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going back to sleep anymore today.
Right.
I'm going to go put on a funny show. Yeah. And I guess if we're talking about like practical, how, like, I'm sure a bunch of people listening to this right now have had weird experiences or like supernatural experiences and things like that. And I guess a takeaway would be, no matter how you respond in the moment, afterwards, when you've collected yourself, it's kind of like thinking back to our last episode, you know, breathe, set your boundaries. You're totally in control of your space. Like, you've got this. If you've worked with gatekeepers or, you know, protective guides like Archangel Michael or anything like that, you know, call them in and, you know that you're being protected. And then later, like, you know, sit with it. See, what was the lesson? Where was I mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Was there something that I needed to take away? Like you said, like, am I actually supposed to be, you know, really thinking about the silence, or, you know, realizing that I have, like in my instance, like protective guides around me, you know, all that. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So
yeah.
I think that.
Yeah, dissolving the fear is so important too, because when you just kind of feed into that and like go down a wormhole of what it could have been and everything, you just kind of like, that fear compounds in you and in your energy. But when you dissolve it, it turns into awareness, and then you could see the gifts in it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Totally. So interesting. Okay. So now we're going to jump to our lovely friends on the Awakening Airwaves team. Who are we going to listen to first?
Let's go ahead and listen to Rena's first.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Serena, sharing one of my ghost stories. So when I was 11, I had moved in with my mom to my grandmother's house shortly after my grandmother had passed away. And we were living there in her house. She hadn't been there for, you know, several years because she was actually in like a home, and then she lived with my aunt for a while. But anyways, that's beside the point. So I was there one of the nights that the power had gone off. I was in my room, which happened to be one of my, my mom's old room. And when I came out of the bedroom to go down the hall, which was very dark because the power was out, and even though it was day, it was super dark in the house. I was heading towards my mom's bedroom, and I screamed because I freaked out. I saw a very tall man standing right next to my mom's bedroom, facing me, scared the living crap out of me. And anyways, what I ended up finding out from my mother when I described the man is that it was my grandfather. And I had never met my grandfather. My grandfather died when I was a little less than a year old, which I found out he had actually passed away in that bedroom where my mom was currently staying. So it was a really interesting experience. For me, there was a lot of other stuff too, as far as like how I explained like what I saw and all that. And my mom's like, that's grandpa, blah, blah, blah. But looking back now, like I wish I knew some of the things that I know now. I wish I had more of a comfort with that and that I didn't startle and didn't get so scared with what I was experiencing, what I was seeing, because I think that would have shaped my reality of the experience a little bit differently. I would have liked to have tried to have some way of communicating versus just screaming and being like, oh my God, what the heck, So it was an interesting experience to say the least. I definitely think that was like, it was a special moment that I had an opportunity to get to meet my grandfather who I'd never met before, really. Obviously, like I was a baby, but when he passed, but so it was a cool experience. Yeah, that's it.
Rena, thank you. That is such a cool story, but also spooky. Like, I totally don't blame you for screaming and freaking out because, yeah, that would be scary. How do you feel about it, Kay?
Yeah, definitely. I could understand, being scared at that age. But I think it's also important to give our younger selves grace, I think that reaction's appropriate for that age. And now it's something kind of special. Your grandfather came to you, maybe not meaning to kind of freak you out. Maybe he thought it was funny even, so maybe he was like a jokester, kind of cheeky in that way. So, but yeah, that's a beautiful thing to know that that he came to say hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, a couple things came to mind. Yeah, just that thought that like, hey, our ancestors and loved ones, like they're always with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those energies that you can always tap into, just to touch that, love. And there's actually somebody that I've been seeing online a lot lately. I think her name is Dr. Tara Swart. I think she was a neuroscientist, and she's actually coming out with like a body of work about connecting with past loved ones in like from a scientific kind of perspective. Anyways, I haven't done a total deep dive, but very interesting if y'all are interested in that, to look into that. But the energies of our loved ones are always with us, and it's kind of that reminder that we really are at a soul level outside of time and space. We're connected to everything, as we learn so deeply in Reiki as well. And then the other thing that came to mind was the energy that places hold. So knowing that her grandparents had lived there, the energy of people stays kind of where they were, where their routines were. If you think about, even if you have a designated spot in your home where you do your meditation or something, like I know when I walk into this room, I feel the energy shift. Like I can feel the energy I've cultivated in this space. And I think we do that unconsciously too, wherever we are when we're in our homes and everything. So yeah, it can be both beautiful, but in Rena's childlike experience, it can be a little bit spooky. And yeah, looking back, I like what you said, like being gentle with our younger selves, because we don't always have the same tools that we do now. But yeah, what a neat experience.
Yeah.
And kind of comforting too, of like grandpa and grandma are going to be around.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing, Rena.
Thank you. All right. Up next, we have Ethan Lyle's story.
Hi, I'm Ethan Lyle Maxey, and I'm here to share a supernatural experience that I had. Background information: I have always been able to see, feel, touch spirits since I was a child. And because of the family I grew up in, that was not an unusual thing. So it was never like really scary to me. But on a particular occasion, I was an adult and I was at home alone, and I was doing a prayer and meditation session. And as I'm sitting on the floor in silence, no music or anything like that, and I had my eyes closed, and I heard a cough. And so I opened my eyes and I look over in the direction that I heard the cough, and there was no physical being there, thank goodness, because I knew I was home alone. So I go back into my meditation session, and then suddenly I felt this very pronounced energy, very intense energy, come and sit down next to me on the floor. It was so intense. I'd never felt that kind of detailed presence before. And so, of course, I had to open my eyes and look, and I looked over, and of course, there was no physical entity there, thank goodness. But it felt very, very familiar, so familiar that I wasn't afraid. So I said, okay, we're not going to get in our heads about this. We're just going to go and finish our prayer and meditation. So I did my breathing, I went back in, and I was very calm. It was very soothing, and I had a great session. So what this brought to mind and what it taught to me is that there really are these spiritual manifestations that can come to us, and it confirmed what I was taught and what I have learned from my studies is that spirits can manifest to us from other dimensions, that we live in a multidimensional universe, and that sometimes they will show up because that's who we are. That's what we signed on to experience. And so what I realized after that experience over a few years is that I had prayed not to see them, because sometimes that can be a little bit awkward and a little freaky sometimes, depending on how they show up. And they had responded by not showing themselves to me, but I felt them and I could hear them and things of that nature. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and thank you.
Oh my gosh. Efanayo, thank you for sharing.
So good.
I think this is like, it just hits home with everything we've talked about. And I just love how just the synchronicity of our conversation of how like she grew up knowing that this was like a normal thing. And so she did kind of have the tools to react in the moment. Yeah, that's incredible. And I'm just thinking about how her answered prayer of like, that was her setting her boundary of, okay, no physical manifestations right now, like, you know, come to me and communicate in different ways. And her guides and energy she was working with totally did. So that is so neat. Yeah, just another reason, those boundaries, people, very important.
I think what's interesting too, is that, I mean, people submitted these videos without really knowing the full conversation that we were going to have today, but it feels like they're not out of place. Like the conversation is just so intertwined, and there's so many overlaps, even from what she was saying, like that connect a lot with what some of the experiences in your story, like the remembrance, you know, the energetic memories and the multidimensional manifestations of energy. It's just like, how interesting how it all kind of really makes sense all together too, you know?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to your note of like trying to dissolve the initial reaction of fear and really shifting into this kind of, I don't know, I have a mantra on my desk that's, how can I be fascinated by the divine today? And I'm kind of like reminded of that right now of like, this is like magical. Like this is cool cosmic stuff that we get to interact with. And I think if you can bring yourself out of like the mundane kind of like routine day to day and remind yourself like, hey, we're so much more than just like this human body, and we're so connected to so many different energies and, you know, ways of interacting with the seen and unseen. And just going down our paths, and, you know, and whether you're super spiritual or not, like there's so many opportunities for growth. And when you're even open to the more unseen opportunities, some really neat stuff can happen, and kind of show you some cool things.
Yeah, even stuff that's scary, not necessarily like supernatural, but like just fear in general, you know, like growth is always on the other side of that. So yeah, it's another just big lesson to like dive in or lean into what scares you, or try to figure out why.
Yeah. What's outside your comfort level, and how can you kind of grow within it, for sure. All right. So our next section, of course, is our 3-card pull. And today we are following the theme as well. So I will hold up here our 3 cards for the day. And if you're just listening, of course, we will do card 1, card 2 in the middle, card 3. So take a deep breath, sit with the numbers 1, 2, or 3, whatever sticks out to you. And we will begin. The first card that we want to mention is from the Energetic Alchemist deck. And it is Ouroboros. So this card, which I'm sure Kay will show on screen with her wonderful editing skills. This card, if you use traditional, like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or any other traditional tarot decks, this is the death card. And so I know it's kind of always unnerving sometimes to pull the death card, right? When our initial reactions are like, oh no. And like in some decks, it actually looks pretty scary. In Yolanda's deck, I really love the imagery here. But really, it's about this understanding that we go through cycles. It's life, death, and rebirth. Things, must fall away to be transformed, kind of like what we were just talking about. We always learn through the discomfort of things. But yeah, there's beauty in what dies away. And even in the season that we're coming into, now that we're in October and moving through autumn and fall, and this really is like a big time of seeing out in the world that things are falling away. But what I really like about this card in Yolanda's deck is the helpers that are here. We have Venus, we have the moon, we have Mars. It's kind of like all these different energies that you can use to help yourself through a transition or through like a death cycle in a way. And can you be loving through it? Can you sit deeply with your emotions and intuition, or is there particular action to take? But not to shy away from it or be afraid of it, but to sort of lean in and embrace the change. But how does this kind of read for you?
Yeah, Kay? I think, like you said, just like embracing the change and kind of surrendering into the unknown, because like that's what life is. It's like ending and beginning, and ending and beginning, or dying and rebirth. So I think those cycles are present day to day, year to year, century to century. So those cycles are always present. So not being afraid of what's coming next, or what's leaving, or what's coming, just be, So what a beautiful card, and very appropriate for this episode.
Yeah. Really awesome message. All right, on to card number 2. If you felt called to card number 2, we have the Illusionist. So in traditional tarot, this will be the Devil card. And it is in Yolanda's deck, it is a bit of a dark looking kind of ominous card, but also in traditional tarot, when you pull the Devil, I think a lot of times when you like see people reading tarot, like on YouTube or Instagram or something, it's always like, that they have this very, charismatic, ominous response to it. But I think kind of what we were talking about, you can dissolve the initial reaction of fear to a card like this. in this deck, we see two silhouetted individuals chained to the chair and kind of the devil figure, this woman in black. And really, I think it's just this reminder that maybe there's something that you're too attached to, you're too chained to, that's sort of maybe overwhelming your life, distracting you, taking you from, your higher path. But I think when this card comes up, it's really about the recognition of, oh, I need to be looking around. I need to take a second to see what might need to be addressed, that I might be too attached to. But yeah, what about you? What comes up for you around this?
Yeah, I think also those shackles represent like an illusion, that you are chained or tied, but you do have more power than you think. And I don't have the card in front of me, but I know a lot of imagery across a lot of decks in that card in particular. The shackles, they're not locked, so it's just like they're just there. So you could just remove them and really free and liberate yourself and your mind and your thoughts about what's holding you back. I think we tell a lot of stories to keep ourselves in the box that other people put us in, or what people say is possible for us. And you can kind of unshackle yourself from all of that. So
yeah, the power of the mind, for sure, can dissolve the chains easily. Yes. Okay. So our third card, if you pull number 3, is the dragon card. So this one we picked because it's a little bit intimidating when you see it at first. We've got this wise man standing very calmly, facing this very large, scary looking dragon. But what I love about this card is, I think when you do a lot of card reading, there's a technique of kind of looking at every figure of being like an aspect of you within the card. So this really reads to me as facing your kind of inner demons, or facing the inner darkness, or the inner scary spooky that you might have. And it's really just approaching it with wisdom, approaching it in a gentle, calm way. Like there's no reason to be harsh or violent or angry with yourself when you recognize whatever might be within you that's causing imbalance or disruption or anything. You can kind of tame your inner beast by just bringing that sense of calm assurance that you have what you need to transform whatever needs to be transformed. I always really like that he has a sword on his belt, but he's nowhere near grabbing it. And it's like just knowing like you don't need strength, or I guess strength in terms of like physical strength, or needing to pull a sword on yourself to transform whatever is within. But yeah, it's a very interesting card. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you learn how to kind of play with energy and harness your own, it comes with such a beautiful like confidence and bravery that you can walk around with, like this armor and shield. And you feel protected instead of scared. So it really is about perspective and how you view the energy.
Yeah, for sure. So those were our main 3 cards. So let us know in the comments what you picked, how you think it resonated with you. We also had some other like honorable mentions. And I think too, for any card users, tarot or oracle, like play with this, like in your pulls coming up, like if something like of a darker or more ominous nature gets brought up in your card pulls, try to see like the lighter transformative message that's there, because there's usually such a beautiful lesson that we can take away from, just by being open to different interpretations. So another card we kind of talked about was the conflict card. This is like a very kind of ominous looking card, but then there's also this note in this message here that even though, the road is all tangled in the forefront, like there's a clear way forward through the back that leads to the sun. Like it's just seeing the different details in the card that kind of lead you to that. We also have the suffering card. So if you pull this in a spread, you might be like, oh no, I don't want to be stuck in my suffering. But what we also see in this card is this bird or dove bringing in this lily of peace. So knowing that even in our suffering, like with all polarities of life, it doesn't last forever. And we are able to have that peace and gentleness come even through difficult times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my challenge to folks. Just kind of be open to different interpretations when you're pulling cards that seem a little scary.
Yeah. And light couldn't exist without the dark. So
Huge lesson of polarity for sure. All right. Lovely, lovely. Well, we're rounding out our episode, and I would just like to say to everybody, happy spooky season.
yes.
Have fun. Tell us if you're doing anything fun. I know I really want to I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to do something fun and Halloween-y.
Yeah.
I think, let's see, we'll each give our takeaways from today's episode. And I think the big theme for me, which might be kind of similar to yours, is really just about transforming a reaction to something that might initially feel dark or heavy or scary in this realm of work. Like we kind of talked about earlier, I think it's important to note, like we obviously, in this mystical and magical human realm that we're in, we don't understand everything and how everything functions in the unseen, and in a way that's kind of a gift because there's always something to learn, but it can also be intimidating and definitely reason to set your energetic boundaries and be firm in how you practice. But that would be my takeaway, is just to be open-minded when the uncomfortable comes up, and to really dissolve that feeling of fear and let it transform you, and just maybe be a little bit open to what might surprise you in the other translations of what it could be.
Yeah, right on. I think it's important to remember too that the things that once made our heart race or what made us want to run can also be things that teach us how to listen more deeply, how to trust energy, and how to surrender into the unknown with curiosity instead of fear. Thank you for listening. Until next time, may you walk through the shadows with your light steady, your spirit open, and your heart ready for what waits in the dark.